Okay, now we're recording for real.
Feels a bit more nerve-wracking now
Oh,
there's a
really?
record
So
button.
nerve-wracking, I know. Okay, so hi everyone. This is Slow Fashion Rebel, the return of Slow Fashion Rebel. My name is Emily, and this is my dear friend Sophie.
Sophie.
I don't know if I should say your name for you or not. So Sophie is in the UK. Where in England are you?
So in Cheltenham, in an area of Cheltenham called Tivoli, that's not too much information. Nobody come and stalk me. Um, so yeah, the southwest. So it's in the Cotswolds. It's a really pretty area of the UK. The sun is shining today. It's been quite nice. I'm sure we'll get into it a bit later, but I've just flown back from New York and the English weather has come out for us. It's been
Yay.
so hot. I
Oh,
thought
that's
I'd stay away from
amazing.
the sun, and thank God I packed some summer clothes at the last minute because it's like in Celsius about 20, 22 degrees here. I still haven't worked out what that is in
Yeah, me
Fahrenheit.
neither. We're
Something up there.
warm enough for you to be wearing a tank top.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, your new
no,
finish.
I love a tank top.
Um, it got cold right after you left.
Like New York
So
is sad that I'm gone.
yeah, exactly. You are the sun and you've left New York, so now it's cold.
I was kind of
Um,
looking forward to some warmer weather though. Honestly, I brought loads of jumpers back and I was like, oh, I can finally get to wear all this stuff that I've
yeah,
knitted. And no, no such luck yet.
it'll happen. Yeah, for sure. Uh, Fall is a very exciting time for knitters. I was like getting bummed. I mean, and I don't exclude myself in that statement, but I'm also a sewer and a cross stitcher now. And I was like really bummed about the change of weather because I had all these sewing plans. Like I was gonna make a pair of shorts and two dresses I had planned, and and then it was like the weather's, I mean, like dresses I'll wear, but shorts I'm definitely not going to wear until next summer. And last year I did this and then I gained weight and then I couldn't wear the shorts the next year. So like I don't want to do that again. So I was bummed, and then I sort of like came to terms with it, and then the weather was like in between, and it was like really humid. And so I was like, come on already. Like I've made my peace with it. Now it's time. And now I'm really excited. So, but then it's like I'm starting all these new plans. It's like, now I have to spend all this money on all these things that, whatever. Anyway, we'll get into that.
Yeah, there's
Uh,
always a backlog of projects that
right,
like, oh, I will start that soon, and then something happens. You're like,
right.
well, I'll move on to something else now, and I'll come back to it.
Yeah. I feel like that's why it's really important to get good at making what you will like and wear for a really long time so that those plans stay exciting when the season comes again. And
Yeah.
that's what my channel is all about. So, yay. So not to like steal the floor, I hope you're okay with me just talking
Go
for
for
a
it. Yeah.
minute, just because I wanted to address the reason that this video is going to appear on my channel, which has had a huge hiatus. I feel like uh, one reason, like one thing I really get stuck on is like how to address the reason when I have had a hiatus, and anyway, so I just want to address it real quick so I can just get past it. But I was thinking about it this morning and it came to me sort of in a more succinct way than I had ever really um, thought of before. So, like, I had a YouTube channel. I was like, you know, I started my YouTube channel because, like, I really needed a way to express my thoughts and feelings about creativity that were unique to me. And I also wanted to meet people. And then I started meeting a bunch of people and it was awesome. then for reasons I won't go into, like I had a lot of life, then before this, I like was really always struggling with consistency, and I knew that, you know, I really enjoyed watching the channels where it was two people having a conversation, and I wanted that, but I just didn't know anybody who wanted that also. So I'm very happy that you're gonna do this with me now. If anybody doesn't know, Sophie's now a permanent member of this channel. Take it or leave it. I don't care if you like it. This is what's happening. Sorry, no. I mean, you're gonna love her as much as I do. I guarantee it. So, yeah, I was really struggling with consistency. I knew that like having somebody else would really help me. So it's like I'd been sort of searching to partner in some way with somebody for a long time, and it didn't really work out. Anyway, then I had a lot of life changes that I didn't really feel like I could talk about on the podcast. And like the podcast for me, this channel for me was always, you know, it was really important for me to always like be genuine and be honest. And so there was like a lot of major things that were affecting my life and that I couldn't talk about. And it's not that I don't care. Like it's not that I care about what people think of me. I've always been like, okay with being vulnerable to some, you know, for the most part, like in public. It's important to me to like honesty and stuff like that. But I realized, you know, and then I would always like watch people and them being like, there's a lot of stuff going on that I can't really talk about. And I was like, why did you even say that? Like, you've just made me feel like I'm missing out on something, you know. But I didn't feel like I could even say that. So it just felt like this big old lie. And then I like had a major depressive period, which I feel like I a lot better now. But I realized, I think that it's important for me to say something because that was the reason why I stopped. And I can't talk about it like because I want to respect the privacy of the people who are involved. It's not because I feel shame in any way. It's just that it's not really completely my story to tell. So anyway, things fell apart. I got depressed. I started feeling better. I just started living like I just focused on myself a lot more. Anyway, I was working at Brooklyn General. We started a knit night on Thursdays, and this beautiful blonde British lady walked in one time and was like, hello, I'm here for the knit night. I'm sorry if that's a terrible butchering of your accent, but I was like, oh, great, you know, have a seat over here. And I thought you were so great right away. I was like, yes, this girl is like totally my kind of person. And then I don't think we really clicked in person right away, but like, it wasn't like we were unclicking either.
Yeah, I think it's weird in those situations because you're in, I guess for you, you're also in your work environment as well as being in a situation where there's a whole kind of group of people sat together and yeah, there's not really an opportunity necessary to click one-on-one in like that sort of group situation. I don't know, it feels, I guess, because depending where you're sat, people maybe break off and have little combos, but you can't be like, oh no, I really want to just sit over here and chat to Emily on a personal level, forget about everyone else. It's kind of, you're still there to, I guess at that point, represent the store and rather than necessarily there to make kind of deeper friendships with us, if that makes sense. Obviously still there.
I'm not here to make friends.
I'm not here to make friends.
Just kidding.
Not in that way. It's not kind of necessarily deep and personal straight away.
Yeah.
Emily's still very friendly and everyone at Brooklyn General is amazing. I feel like I've just made you all sound out to be like, you can't sit with us. Which is not the case at all.
No, but I definitely like, you know, there's stuff that you can't talk about at work and like in professional environment in general, if I'm like on the clock, or I wasn't on the clock, but it still was a social thing at my place of employment. So I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But then the pandemic happened and it went online, and it felt like our little group got really close, really quickly, because a lot of people were like, what, I have no social life anymore, but we still have this Thursday night thing every week. And we were all going through this crazy thing. And in the beginning of the pandemic, New York City was the worst place on earth to be, quite literally. And so we were all really scared, and like we got really vulnerable with each other and all formed really wonderful friendships. And then when the restrictions started lifting, Sophie and I started hanging out in person, and we discovered that we have a lot in common, a lot of interests in common, and also just she's amazing and hilarious and wonderful. So welcome to our channel, Sophie.
I feel like I'm blushing right back at. I'm so glad, actually. I was thinking about this earlier, and how much, obviously I'm pleased to be back in the UK, but how much New York was just such a great, and I think also the pandemic helped with that in terms of friendships I made through Brooklyn in general. I mean, probably some of the only friendships I made in New York, but how good it was in terms of personally just becoming a different person and really growing and changing in that respect, as well as a crafter too. And I got to meet some really amazing people. I'm really glad that we're here, and you're amazing and wonderful as well. And such a good friend.
Thank you.
And a great pie maker, everyone.
Oh, thank you.
Just add that to your resume as well.
I feel like my camera's over here, but your face is like all the way over here. So I kind of want to.
I keep looking to the right. So that's where Emily is for me, because then I just see you. So I'm more likely to look at my camera.
Right. Well, I felt like your face was still facing the right direction, but I was like,
yeah, that's good. Half doing it. Oh, my leg face.
We're back in action.
Back in the room.
Cut or action. Lucas just made a special appearance.
Yeah, so if you hear any funny noises during the video, it's because, I should say our, I always call him mine, but he's mine and my husband's, really. Our little fur baby, miniature dachshund Lucas, is asleep on my lap, so excuse any kind of grumbling noises or whatever. It's him, it's not me.
Well, he's always kind of attached to your body, so like most of the time.
Yeah.
So
like a limb. He also loves knitting. Like he has a real thing about yarn or sitting on my knitting, I guess because it's comfortable. So he has to be in the vicinity, I guess, for the podcast. He saw me getting all bits and pieces out, and he was like, that's where I'm going to be for the next however long, stationed. He just has to be involved, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
try hard.
He's welcome, because he's the most adorable dachshund I've ever known.
Well, I've got so obsessed, and I feel as though I'm weirdly obsessed. I feel it's like every pet owner, like until you have a pet, and I'm sure you're the same, Emily. I don't want to label you as weirdly obsessed, but until you have a pet, you don't know how much love you're going to have them. And now I'm literally can't get enough. I watch him like a proud parent. I have way too many pictures and videos of him on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I even set him up his own Instagram account.
I saw
it's
that.
Got a bit out of control.
I followed it. We can put his thing on the screen. That's going to be my first show note. Lucas Instagram.
Yeah. He's there typing his little captions with his paw. All him, guys. I have nothing to do with it.
He's very photogenic.
Especially when there's food involved. That's the way to get him. Pictures is there's like a little something hanging out of shot.
So how's your last couple of weeks been? Do you want to start talking about knitting, or can I ask you just about like how your journey was?
Yeah, of course. Life, I guess it's been a bit different. So we moved back to the UK we arrived back in the UK on Thursday. So last week's just been crazy. I feel as though relocating in a pandemic is probably not the time to do it, everyone. But yeah, so we had our removal man come on the Tuesday. So we moved out of our apartment building on Tuesday. So we flew on the Wednesday from New York, but obviously time difference and stuff. And luckily we booked a hotel to stay in, so we could kind of get away from the madness, and they could just do what they did, and hopefully it'll all arrive back in one piece whenever it arrives back, because last time when we moved, I think it took 3 months or something ridiculous to get there.
Yeah, it did take a while.
Yeah, so it all goes by boat, and you have to wait. If you've only got half a container, you have to wait for someone else to fill the other half. So we're hoping, though, that actually, because people might be relocating, that it will take less time for our stuff to arrive. Yeah, it's just crazy organization. I mean, the only bit of organization I really did was organizing Lucas, which was just kind of stressful, because I would have thought that they would make it easier to travel with pets, or that, things would be more automated. But everything was, no, we have to fill out an actual piece of paper to send an actual piece of paper off, to then get an actual piece of paper back. That has to be approved by the USDA, and then you have to come back again. And it's all really last minute, I guess, because with pets, like health, things can change really quickly. So you only have 10 days in which to sort of get everything organized and sorted, and then just basically hope that it's right by the time you get to the UK.
Yeah.
They do a pre-check service, but they don't really guarantee that they get back to you. So it's sort of, and they said they're really busy at the moment. So they have 80 to 90 animals a day arriving at Heathrow. Isn't that crazy?
Whoa.
And it's not just pets. So when we were there picking up Lucas, so they had this specific animal centre in Heathrow. And I think there's actually a show, for those who are in the UK and interested in airports, there's a show on at the moment about Heathrow, like behind the scenes. And I think the animal centre is on that show. But they have zoo animals. So when we're there, Colchester Zoo truck was there, I guess, picking up. I don't know what animal they were picking up. But yeah, really busy. I never really thought about that aspect of it, of it's not just cats and dogs being transported. So yeah, that was kind of sad. So I think I was sad on the last day when we left, and as our plane was taking off, we were on the side of the plane where you could see the Manhattan skyline, and it was evening time, so it was a bit dark, but I think all the stress sort of mostly distracted me from being sad too much. And then the last couple of days have been a bit like, oh, I'm not going to see any of my friends. It's been so weird.
Yeah.
The things you don't think about. So we're now in a 2-story house, whereas before we lived in an apartment building. And it's so bizarre looking out the window and the road being so close.
Yeah.
Like, we're not that high up. It's just things like that. You're seeing the same views, and yeah, it's just a bit weird I think when we're allowed out, because we're in quarantine at the moment for 2 weeks, but I think when we're allowed out, there'll be things that are just really surprising that we won't have even thought about, that'll be completely different to New York, and it'll probably make us not necessarily miss the prices of alcohol, but other things.
Oh, is alcohol more expensive in New York?
Oh my God, so much.
Wow.
So much. For those who don't know, it's like the average bottle of wine is like $16 plus $17.
Yeah.
In the UK, you can get like a good bottle of wine for, like £6 or something. And I don't know what the conversion is, but that's a lot less.
That's a lot less. I mean, wouldn't that be like $10 or something?
Yeah, it was one of the things that shocked us most about moving to America. That and the price of food as well.
Yeah.
But I don't miss Whole Foods.
Yeah, everything is more expensive in New York City than it is in the rest of the country. I imagine a lot of people in the rest of the country are like,
oh my God,
I can get wine for $10, thank you. I definitely know at Trader Joe's wine store, which...
Yes. Isn't it in Union Square? Somewhere?
It's on 14th Street, but it's just a little bit east of Union Square. I think it might be on 2nd or 3rd Avenue. It's a shame that you never made it there because that's a really good,
That's the place to
really
be.
good place for wine. Yeah, I love it there. Also, they have tons of California wine because it's a California chain. So that's my favorite place for wine. But it's just, like, especially in the early days of the pandemic. And Sophie was only here from January through
Yeah, just for the
September,
pandemic, really.
like really just for the pandemic. So, yeah, in the early days of the pandemic in particular, but even now, it just didn't really feel worth it to go on the train
Yeah,
just to get cheap, delicious wine.
as good as it is. Yeah, we did Manhattan a bit, but we most, obviously with the pandemic, you didn't really can't go on the subways or anything like
Yeah.
that. We stayed around Brooklyn. I mean, I love Brooklyn. I really loved New York City in general. Manhattan, not as much, but, you know, we really loved living there. And we said, if we had to compare it to London, I mean, they're completely different. So we lived in London before we moved to New York City. And maybe it was just the novelty of the fact we weren't there for very long, but we definitely loved it much more than being in London. I guess because it's so different. It's different to what you know. And not to say that London isn't an amazing place, but there's this, you know, specific vibe to New York that you just can't really get anywhere else. And that comes from the people, I guess. And it's just such a different city. And maybe give it a while after the pandemic, but it's definitely somewhere that, you know, if cities are your thing, it's so worth going and spending some time in because, yeah, it's just so great. But I feel like I got so sidetracked by thinking about wine rather than what we've been doing. But it was just stress, just packing stress, just boring admin.
I opened the bottle of wine the red that you guys gave us last night, and it's very good. Yeah.
I'll let Jake know. Jake's my husband. Yes. He was the one who chose it. Because I'm always bad at picking, because I don't drink red wine. I just go by the bottle, and that's apparently not a good technique. Always.
I mean, what else can you do? Like, it's hard. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, because you have no context in which to put it. You're like, I don't know.
You have to sort of get a recommendation and then just learn what kind of brands you like, learn what kind of grapes you like. And that's what I've done. But then I really enjoyed, it was really nice to try a new wine from somebody who's not from the US, recommended by somebody, purchased by somebody who's not from the US, because like Tim and I were talking about, it's like an entirely different grape that I had never heard of before, you know, like I think Jake, when he was at our house, was talking down on like Cabernet, and I was like, oh, I love Cabernet, you know, but like
he's very opinionated about red wine though. Well, he has definite favorites.
But also, like, I realized it may be regional because, like, Cabernet is huge in California because there's a lot of really good Cabernet grapes and really good, I mean, I don't know. That's what my mom likes. So, like, that's what I sort of not grew up because, you know, didn't drink when I was a child, obviously, but anyway,
it's true though, because I guess for us, we've mostly always drunk European wines because that's where we're closest to. And we've had this conversation before that actually you can get almost the same grapes, but from different, the California ones can taste completely different to the European versions of what is essentially branded the same, but it's just a totally different blend. Right. So it's a shame we didn't get a chance to change Jake's mind on the Cabernet.
Well, he's always up for a wine tasting. What do you say? Oh, he's always up for a wine tasting. Yeah. Maybe there will be more opportunities in the future.
Wow.
Yeah. When we like meet in Napa on our, you know, couples vacation and
knitting, crafting retreat.
Right. Yeah. So how did Lucas handle the flight? Was he freaked out, or was he okay? Did
So
you
we had
see?
a calming, well, we had a calming collar on him. I don't know if they work, but basically they work by pheromones or something. So it's the best way to travel with pets because obviously they can't take any medication. You have to be really careful because it's such a short flight. He was, unfortunately, flying internationally, you have to put him in the hold. So he goes in a specific temperature controlled cargo area.
Okay.
Which for me is so silly.
With you.
He wasn't with us. I wish he was.
Yeah.
But it's so silly because you can fly across America, same flight journey, and you can have dogs in the cabin because it's domestic. But anyway, I won't go into that rant. I was like, but he's not a dog. He's so small. He doesn't count, surely. So yeah, you just have to give them a calming collar because they don't want them choking or whatever during the flight, obviously. So I will say, this is a bit that really upset us, is it would have been really stress-free if it was just us traveling, because all you need to do is make sure your stuff's packed up, go to the airport, and as long as you have your passport, I mean, that's the main priority. But with him, so we had to go and drop him off beforehand at this cargo building, and it was, luckily had the nicest taxi driver in the whole world, or private car or whatever. And because the hotel told me they're not a taxi company, they're, I was like, it's essentially a taxi, let's be honest. I'm paying someone to get me somewhere. So it's a random cargo building. We go in and they're pointing like, oh no, you have to go around the back. So we went into the office that said IAG Cargo, which is what British Airways basically use to fly the pets. And we go around the corner and I'm like, are we in the right place? We're literally in a warehouse. There's forklift trucks. There's just delivery drivers picking stuff up and dropping stuff off. Because I'd also never considered that actually airlines, it's like freight travel. I never really thought about, stuff traveling by air. It's just one of those things you never really consider. So it was a hive of activity. And we're thinking, this surely can't be the place where we drop off pets. Because there was not even a sign to say pet here.
Yeah.
Precious baby.
Yeah.
So because if you think about Heathrow when they arrive, there's literally a whole vet centre for them, which I guess is different because it's the arrival rather than the departure. But so we eventually managed to get into this office. There's like no sense of urgency from these people, which is fine. But because we were at the airport, really, it has dropped them off 4 hours before the flight anyway. But it's just some kind of acknowledgement that they're going to look after your pet would have been, or some sort of confidence in that would have been really good. That wasn't there. So eventually we're let into the office and we have our temperature checked and blah, blah, told to sit down, and then we're basically ignored. Like no one speaks to us to say, you know what, we're going to be 10 minutes, we're just getting the paperwork together, or we just need to do X, Y, and Z. So it turns out this lady was doing it, she just hadn't communicated that's what she was doing to us. We literally just sat there like, what's going on? Literally paying $1 a minute to be sat here right now to the taxi man.
Mm-hmm.
And then this guy comes over. The lady's like, oh, can you check the length of your pet versus the crate? So there you pre-submit all the measurements. They have to check that it's the right size because otherwise they can't fly. And he comes over with this big like DIY tape measure, the big like metal ones. He's like making this big thing of like measuring the inside of the crate. And he's like, oh no, put your dog down. He's like trying to measure Lucas. And obviously he's like, what the hell what are you wiggling around?
He's wiggling around.
Yeah, he's like wiggling around going, what's going on? And this guy's like, stretch your dog out. And it's just his attitude just wasn't very nice because as a pet owner in that situation, it's quite emotional and hard anyway because you're giving your pet up for effectively, altogether like 12 plus hours before you're going to see your pet again.
Yeah.
And he was just like really not very nice. And he was basically saying that Lucas's crate wasn't big enough. And I was like, but I've researched all this. Like we've had it from like it has to be big enough. Like he has to fly today. Because it's easier if you're on the same flight and you can only fly 5 days either side of your pet. It's like we're not leaving America if he's not coming with us, basically.
No.
So eventually, yeah, and I think Jake looked like he was about to punch this guy in the face. Like he was being so rude. But then he gets someone else. He's like, oh no, it's fine. Do all this paperwork and stuff. And we basically just had to leave him in this office building, and it just felt really heart-wrenching. And he stuck his little nose out the side of the grate. Like, that was like, what, I cried. I was
yeah, I would too.
And Jake was a bit emotional as well. And the taxi driver was like, "Is everything okay?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm so don't want to leave him."
Yeah.
And flying, but I have to say, it was the quickest I've ever been through security at JFK. It was, well, obviously, it was, nothing was open. Everything, like all the restaurants and stuff were closed. I think only Hudson's, whatever, was open. And it was so weird being in JFK and it being that quiet. I've never been there before where you don't have to wait like 2 hours to go through security, and it's not just like people everywhere. It was really weird. So you had loads of time to wait for the flight, waiting around. It wasn't that busy. I think most people were people relocating back, because I guess there's restrictions on travel still. And luckily there was a really nice man at the gates who was the cargo manager. I went up to him, I said, explain the situation, that our pet was on board, blah, blah, blah. Can we get reassurance to know that he's on the plane before we leave? Because, that would be really good to help us get through the flight. And he was so lovely and so nice. I have to say that the manager and also the people on the desk who check your passports and stuff as you get on the plane were all so nice about the situation. And he basically, before we got on the plane, he was like, come back to me, ask me. And he radioed down so we could hear it on the radio as well, just to confirm that he was on and he was on the plane.
Oh, yeah.
And we took off. It was a really quick flight. I think it's quicker going from New York to London because like the wind's with you. So we were circling for a bit because there's apparently a curfew, so they can't land planes at the moment before 6:02. I don't know why the 02 bit, but it seems just really bizarre. Like, why not 6 o'clock? I'm sure there's a reason somewhere, but I haven't looked it up. Landed, got through everything really quickly. We had to pay for Wi-Fi on the plane because we forgot to fill out they're doing these new forms at the moment to help track the coronavirus, about basically where you're going to be staying and where you're quarantining and things. So border control were checking those. We had all this time at the airport to wait. We were actually at the airport for like 4 hours before our flight, and we forgot to do these forms completely. We just sat there listening to podcasts or whatever, my favourite murder. And so luckily we did it on the plane because I get pulled over into the border control queue, and I was thinking, oh, for God's sake. It was just the longest queue and the funniest situations going on that I won't get into now, but yeah, some funny characters in the queue, should we say. Just because the passports weren't recognising anyone, I thought, do I look this terrible after the flight that my passport doesn't recognise me in the screen? But it's probably also because my passport photo is the worst photo in the whole world.
Oh, I mean, isn't everybody's? Mine.
Yes, mine is a lot of chin. I'm at a weird angle because when I went to get my name changed when we got married, I had old passport photos. He's like, you can't use those, you have to go and take new ones. And I couldn't get the head in the automatic machine to go down. So instead I was like leaning up like this. And I look like it's just like a lot of chin. Yeah. So maybe I need to do the right angle of the machine in the future.
I haven't had it for it in a little while. I need to get mine renewed.
I think definitely, someone to take the picture for you is my top tip. Yeah, basically then it was just a really long wait for Lucas and a drive back. So we had to wait for him for 6 hours. He was very happy to see us. Apparently he'd been a bit distressed and like anxious. Because I guess also he's a quarantine puppy, so he literally hasn't been around Jake or I since he was 8 weeks old. So I mean, Emily got a little lick at the end, but that was a hard work getting that one out of him. He's very suspicious of strangers. But yeah, he's loving it. Where we're staying, we've got a garden. He was straight out in the garden, just loving life, and he's just adjusted so well. Hasn't even got jet lag. I'm really jealous of him.
Oh, are you still jet lag?
Yesterday was the day where it hit me. Today I feel better. But I've been making fun of Jake Cool. We got this new sofa that's massive. We can actually recline without our feet even touching, which is great because I don't want to touch Jake's feet. And he's been literally falling asleep on it every night. I'm going, oh my god, falling asleep on the sofa, and it was me snoring away. He couldn't wake me up. I woke up, I was like, where am I? But yeah.
I think it's been
and then just
place too in the last 2 weeks. Sorry, I interrupted you. And then
no, go for it. I had nothing to say.
So after you guys, so we had Sophie and Jake over for dinner, one last time before, or first and last time before they left. Shortly after that, I got sick with a UTI, and might cut that part out. I don't know, but
again, I thought you'd kicked.
I know. I thought I had kicked them too. So then I like called in sick from work, and that was a whole thing. And I actually stopped taking my ADD meds because I wanted to get some extra sleep. Like whenever I don't take them, I feel like so tired, and when you're recovering from any illness, when I'm recovering from any illness, sometimes I have to like force myself to rest more than I even want to,
Yeah.
Like as soon as you start feeling better, you are like, oh, I'm gonna get up and do
action.
But then it makes you feel a little worse. So I wanted some extra help in that area, and so I stopped taking that, which is like fine. You're supposed to be taking breaks. But then I slept so much and it felt amazing. And like I've been really struggling with sleep and nightmares lately. And I slept so well, and like I started to feel a lot better. And then what I didn't realize was I think that when I had taken breaks from the medication before, like I had been going through a withdrawal, like a serious withdrawal that I had never really considered. And then so I think that because I took like a really significant break, I went through the withdrawal and passed it, and then like on the other side of it. And so I haven't been taking my ADD medication since then. And like I'm still on an SSRI. So like this is the first time I've been medicated for depression, but not ADD. And like I kind of feel great. I kind of feel amazing. And it's like, I also feel like as far as the ADD symptoms go, like I am like, I lose track of time a little bit, but I think that the SSRI helps what I thought was ADD, like way more than I ever, and I'm not saying I don't have ADD, like I still totally do, I'm sure, but there's sort of some overlaps, and I don't know, I just, anyway, for now, like this is what I'm doing, and I feel really good. Like I feel way less anxious is the thing, it's like, especially during coronavirus, I mean, a lot of people have talked about like how they started drinking a lot more. I really started drinking a lot more during the beginning of the pandemic, and I did not feel great about it, which is why I think that I got the UTI, like, because I would have been drinking too much and eating too much sugar. And but like when I'm not on when I was on ADD meds, I would feel like I just like was at this level of anxiety all the time that was like extremely uncomfortable, and I was just used to it. I just felt like that was a normal thing. But like always by like 3 p.m. I was like, oh, this is too much. Like I need a glass of wine. And so I would start drinking like really early. And it's not like I ever really, it's like not like I ever really got drunk even. It's not like I,
Yeah, it becomes a habit though, doesn't it? It comes
but
like
it was like,
oh,
yeah, it
it's
was a
time.
habit that didn't feel good. And yeah, so it's just like that desire is gone. Like which I feel like is kind of a huge thing. Like it's okay, it's totally okay. It's a good thing that I don't have that anymore. And I did start taking this like CBD product called like Stay Sharp that has a bunch of nootropics too. And that's been helpful. It's expensive, but it's been really helpful, and it doesn't have the like really harsh side effects that a stimulant medication does. Anyway, lots of personal information, but
well, I was gonna say actually that you sort of went into it, but you seem like really relaxed and chilled and just like kind of a glowing energy about you.
I feel so much happier. Like it really, so much calmer. I can do like portfolio work. For those of you who are just picking up here, like I've talked to Sophie about this extensively and the entire knit group, but like for the last year, I've been trying to get my graphic design portfolio together, but like having so much anxiety about it, so much emotional drama about it and stress. And it was like, so I've started, my strategy now is like just to do it in teeny tiny chunks. Like imagine what the next like step is, and even if it only takes 5 minutes, like just keep momentum going. And sometimes even that is like a huge thing that I have to like build myself up for. But yesterday I was just like, yep, this is what I'm doing today, and it was like easy, and I was like, ah, I just feel like myself again.
That's so good.
So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully I can, because there have been times when I've been not on meds. I mean, before I started taking it like 2 years ago, 10 years before that, I was like completely unmedicated, and it was like, it was not a good situation. But like, I also never really gave SSRIs a chance. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes for a while. If I go broke buying CBD products, I might have to go back on the medication. But for
It's
now,
so true that whatever works for
still
you, I think, is the right thing.
yeah.
Unless it makes you go broke and you end up,
Right.
in a bad situation.
If I can
That's not going to happen. It'll be fine.
If I can do work without like having all this emotional drama about it, like maybe I will.
You counteract it.
Earn money, yeah. So maybe we should talk about crafting. It's
Yes.
like almost an hour.
Oh my God. I just need to show a bag of how much yarn. So at the moment though I kind of do dabble in lots of different crafts, I should say that the main craft I have with me is knitting. Everything else is in the shipping container. Though I really want to get into embroidery, so maybe I'll have to, get some things to start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Because Emily has inspired me, and so have other members of our knitting group. But I managed to I had probably about 3/4 of a suitcase of yarn, and it was like in my hand luggage, it was just everywhere. I filled up the suitcase, I was like, this isn't enough, I need more. And realistically, I don't know how much knitting I think I'm actually going to get done, because this is over the top.
Between your, like now and when you're all the rest of your stuff?
Okay. I've gone a bit overboard, but I think it's just that kind of comfort of, I just want it near me so I can look at
it. And you want to have options. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Of course you're not going to get through all of it, but like you want to be able to.
This is like one of the bags, and it's stuffed. And there was 2 of those, plus other like bits of yarn. So
did you cast on your Caitlin Hunter shawl yet?
No, but I have the yarn here. I need to finish. So I'm in the middle of doing this test knit that I realised I've been a bit remiss about, and I kind of was just a bit lackadaisical, and because I think we went away to upstate New York before we left, so I didn't really do any knitting. I just took it with me to like take photos because the aesthetic was good. It's just so stupid, but it's a thing. Please tell me that other people do that too. So yeah, I've literally got a sleeve,
Oh, it's so pretty.
well, 1.5 sleeves or maybe 1.25 sleeves. I've got really long arms left to go. As soon as this is done, I am casting on my times trade shawl, which Emily helped me put together. It's just amazing pink. I love the colour pink, which you'll grow to learn. Yeah, as soon as this is done.
I didn't remember that has mohair in it. It looks really beautiful.
Yeah, so it's really hard to get the colour. So it's knitting for olive, which I've never used before, but I've wanted to try for ages. And it was specific. They basically asked you to use the yarn, which I was really happy about because I wanted to try it. And I have to say, I feel like it's really reasonable in terms of price for what you're getting. So it's merino and then silk mohair.
Oh, merino.
Yes, so that's the main colour, and then I mixed it with a off-white. I mean, how much mohair have I bought? Literally gonna last me forever.
Amazing though. Is that mohair cone from Knitting for Olive?
Yeah, so they sell them, I think, in 3 different colours on their site. So this is off-white, and they do them in some other colours as well. So it's 200 grams, I want to say.
How much was the cone?
I want to say it was like 50. I feel like the number 50. I'm going to look it up on the internet. I was all together, and we did have a discount code for the test knit, but altogether I think it was like maybe 90 something.
Was the shipping a lot of money?
I don't think so, and it arrived really quickly. It was you could track it the whole way. I'm looking up now.
I just feel like that's I was excited when you showed a picture of a cone of mohair, because it's like,
yeah,
if you knit a mohair sweater, you
need
a lot. But I guess
these are €8. I guess I could change that into. Oh, so they ship worldwide. Right, where's the mohair? Yeah, so €56, which is, I'm going to convert that into.
For 200 grams, which is a ton of mohair, you could get more than
so $65, which, is that good? I don't know. I feel like that's like a life supply of mohair.
It's expensive, but you could get more than one full mohair sweater out of that, I think. So
yeah. I mean, I've basically knit a whole cardigan, and it feels like I still have a whole cone left. And the only reason I bought a cone is because the colour I wanted was sold out in the balls. Otherwise, I wouldn't have necessarily bought it. But I thought, you know what? I could be a mohair person now. This could be my new thing. Yeah, and then the balls are 50 grams, and they are about $9 each. Around $9.
What's the sweater pattern?
It's going to be called the Bindweed cardigan, and it will be in issue 5 of Making Stories, which is out in the spring. And having seen the patterns, I feel as though it's a really good issue. I've signed up to one of their test knitters, just because I'm eager to get a preview of anything that comes out, because I love their magazine. And pretty much everything I wanted to test knit. I couldn't decide between which one I wanted to do. And the only reason I chose the cardigan sort of as my first choice, they asked you to rank them. And you just sign up on their website. Anyone can sign up. Was because I didn't have any cardigans at that point. I have since made a cardigan, but I thought I'd just challenge myself. I love the sleeves, all that detail. I have a thing for cables. One of my favourite things.
They're beautiful. Oh, I didn't know that. I feel like I've seen you mostly knit lace lately.
Yeah, I went through a massive lace phase, but cables was my other. Basically, I just like stuff that doesn't really involve colour work.
Oh, I love colour work. That's like
yeah, that's why we complement each other. Yin and yang.
I started a Lydia 2.0, which is out of which is by Ivy and Autumn. It's out of Twisted Willow Merino linen singles. So I haven't gotten very far.
I love it.
Come on.
I love that yarn you've chosen as well.
Thanks. Thank you. It's it feels really nice. I switched to wooden needles because it was getting really slippery. I also haven't had much of a chance to work on this because I've been doing a sample knit for Brooklyn General, which I will also show. I found it off this morning. This is the Cinnabar shawl by Andrea Mowry.
It looks so good.
Thank you. In Spin Cycle. All of this is Spin Cycle. I was like, do you remember I cast this on your roof?
I know. I was just thinking, I was thinking to myself, wow, that shawl's come out of nowhere. It got so quickly.
Thank you. It didn't feel that way because it's a lot of really plain knitting, which sometimes like when I think that I was struggling more with anxiety, I felt like I really, really needed plain knitting a lot of the time because it does really help calm me down. But like now I've gotten, like my anxiety has gotten way better and I've become really interested in other stuff, and my knitting mojo took a total nosedive over the summer, which like I wasn't bummed about. Like I would tell people and they were like really worried about me, you know, and I was just like, no, you guys, like I have a new thing that I'm really excited about, and like it feels great to not be so addicted to knitting right now, as I told you. But the knitting mojo is definitely coming back because of fall. But now I'm just like worried that my cross stitch mojo is going to go away. There's just so many things to make, and so little.
I do think crafts are kind of, they go in cycles. They kind of sometimes go in phases of.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. Maybe I just one of those. Well, I tend to start things and not finish them. That's usually my cycle.
I do that a lot too. I mean, I think that so like a couple of years ago, and watchers of this channel, if you've been watching for a long time, will know this story, but a couple of years ago, I like made a serious commitment to finish everything I start, which I have stuck to for the most part. And I only say for the most part because it's like, if I decide that I do not want to finish something, like I will rip it out and like give the yarn away. Like it's not a project that just stays around for a long time. That being said, I am also like, I've talked about this extensively on this channel, but like I am also a person who is okay with kind of a large number of projects, but also that doesn't mean I have like 30 or 40. It means that I have 7 to 10 and they're all pretty active. They all feel pretty active. But I think that I've sort of let that number grow like slightly incrementally, and now I do have like old projects like that. Those mittens, the mittens will never never end, and it's like a thing that I cannot get rid of, but I also do not want to work on.
Yeah.
So I don't have like, yeah. It was that way with the Wizard and Dragon cross stitch, which I have right here and can show you guys. It was that way with this piece for a long time. I was just like, I can't get rid of it. It's like too special to me, but I also am like, for a long time was not into cross stitch. I think I'm gonna try to take it off the frame so you can actually see it.
It's going to happen. You're going to get addicted to making these mittens. Like, I bet you, like, just before Christmas, you're going to be 3 mittens.
It's not that it's never going to be finished. It just might take me 25 years. That's the thing. Because it's like 1 mitten, 1 to 5 mittens.
Gorgeous.
Is my rate. yeah, so this project was literally sitting around for 10 years, and I couldn't get rid of it. I didn't want to, and I also didn't want to work on it. But then at the beginning of the pandemic, I had been wanting to get into embroidery for a long time. And like I did a lot of embroidery when I was a kid, but I mostly did cross stitch, not embroidery, which I mean, like, I feel like it's a category, embroidery is a category, and maybe or people think of it this way sometimes. I don't really think of it this way. I feel like cross stitch is its own thing and embroidery is also its own thing, but I don't really care.
It's a thing.
Yeah, but then
Needle and thread.
I was like wanting to get into embroidery, but I didn't really want to spend the money on like all the like a whole bunch of new supplies and stuff. And I was like, maybe I should just pick up that really old cross stitch project and that would like scratch the itch. And then I became obsessed. I already told you this story, but I didn't tell the viewers of this channel. Yeah, and then I became obsessed, and now it's come a really long way, and it's exciting. It's a
It looks so good. And having seen it in real life, I feel that the camera, I mean, it looks amazing on camera as well, but camera does not do it justice. Like in real life, it's incredible.
I did purchase a better camera though, so I don't know if you noticed that my camera quality is better. But this is the Wizard and Dragon piece. It's
Like
still,
so,
yeah, it like needs to be.
I can't believe how small each one of those stitches is. It's incredible amount of work.
Yeah, that's a little better because you can't see the
So
light.
good. I feel as though you're so close to finishing as well, like in proportion or comparatively to how big the piece is.
Kind of, except for this area is full coverage. So all of this area, like every single stitch is filled in. So what'd you say?
I think you're still nearly there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, like at the rate that I was going, like I'm speeding by, even though it's taken me 6 months to do this. But
My favorite thing is a dragon's face, I think.
Me too. Okay, I'll just do a close up on that. Dragon's face.
So good.
So yeah, I bought an HD camera, which is pretty good. It has a difficult time, like if I do get it to focus really up close, then it has a difficult time switching back. So I think right now I'm experiencing the opposite problem where like it's like, okay, we're focusing here. And then when I hold stuff up, it doesn't want to focus there.
Yeah, it's like, Emily, give me your face back.
Yeah. Other than that, I did start the La Nuit piece. Clearly, I'm a little more excited about cross stitch right now than I am about knitting. But don't worry, there will be knitting content. I mean, it's just because like I do this 100% of the time. Like if I'm not working and I'm not doing household responsibilities, like it is what I want to be doing.
Yeah. Like I have been a bit lax, but also not enjoying not doing it, if that makes sense. As I was saying to Emily, because I'd packed all my knitting projects just before we went, I was like, I really wish I had stuff. She's like, cast on something for the play. I was like, I can't. I've stupidly packed everything.
Were you like a ball of nerves the entire time, or did you actually get to relax on the plane?
I think I relaxed a bit on the plane. It's kind of more just drift. I tried to close my eyes, and I think I did fall asleep in and out. And I had to listen. I was listening to My Favorite Murder. I was listening to one of the mini-sodes, and I had to restart it 3 times. So I kept falling asleep in it. So I'm like, I have no idea. It's only half an hour long. I was like, I have no idea what's going on in this episode. But yeah, it was more.
So this piece is called Le Jour. It's something that I started and finished during the pandemic. It is 32 count linen with white Cosmo floss. And anyway, and the pattern is by 2x2 Stitch Art on Etsy. Le jour means the day. And so it has a companion piece called La Nuit, which is the night. And I got started on it. So it's got a little, I think it's so cute with the little hat and the moon. And then, so that's the beginning of the man's head. I love how so in French, la is the masculine form of the word the, but this is a woman, and la is the feminine form of the word the, and it's going to be la nuit, which is a man. So I love actually like how it's like gender swapped. I don't know if that was on purpose at all, but I think it's really cool, and I'm into it. This is also the same linen that I dyed. So I dyed it, and then I had extra dye, so I dyed this shirt.
So cool. I was thinking about the color of your shirt.
Like, same color. I'm gonna match. I have a nightgown that's this color now, and a sweater, and this shirt. So it's like everything I wear is gonna be this.
You need to wear them all at once.
Yeah.
Whilst working on your cross stitch.
So yeah, this is the blah blah blah. What else? I'm working on the pandemic, which is for people who know the stitching world right now, they will know what I'm talking about, but it's a long dog samplers pattern. So yeah, I started it. I don't know if I'm very happy with it. It's supposed to be a monochromatic. Did you see this when you were here?
Yeah, I think you said you were going to change the colors. I think he's done. Sorry.
That's okay. I joined the pandemic sampler Facebook group, and so lots of people on there had like multicolor versions, and so I like got all excited and decided to do multicolor, but then it's like everything turns out so differently than you imagine, and it's just also like I feel like it's taking forever now because I'm agonizing over all these little decisions, and I kind of just have been thinking about doing it monochromatic again and like taking out some of the, either starting again or taking out some of the things, because I'm not loving how the color scheme is working up at the moment. And this was expensive fabric, and like I want it to be really pretty. So I have all of these greens that I bought. I was thinking of like just picking one of them and like buying a bunch of that and doing it. What do you think?
Let's see I did like the idea of doing it different colors, but I do think you lose with maybe just go darker, just go with more high contrast. You could still do different, but you do kind of lose a bit of the detail on is it flowers or thistles?
I'm not really sure what it is.
Like around the bird, like the lilac. So I feel like everything, the dark green stands out so strongly. I think, yeah, if you do maybe dark and light.
With a multicolor, you lose some of the motifs.
Yeah, just on that lilac, I think, because it blends a bit more. But I like the idea of doing it different colors.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a shame to do it all the same, but maybe just more contrast, because it's on camera. I know the lilac's lost a bit against the background fabric. But I think the bird stands out really well. I like the other things. That's the only thing I think.
Why do you think it would be a shame to do all the same color? Because I feel like, let me just say I'm not saying that I'm right, but this is what I was thinking. Like the fabric is so, there's so much going on in the fabric, and there's so much going on in the pattern already. So that's kind of why I feel like it would be like it was a mistake to try and do multicolor, because a lot of, there are only like one or two even on the whole like Facebook thing that I really liked that were multicolored. The rest of them was like, whoa, this is too much, you know?
Yeah, too easy.
I just feel like also it's what I do in my downtime and I don't want to be stressed about it, you know? So
I think it's only because, you know me, I like to have things with loads of different colours in it.
I mean, I do too. Yeah, yeah.
But I agree that, yeah, you'd almost have to pre-plan all your different colours and know where they would work. It's like the same as like planning a colour work, I guess.
Yeah.
When you're setting it up, you have to almost swatch loads of different stuff to see what would work and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's just quite a lot of effort for something you could do in one. I like the dark, is it dark green?
Yeah.
And actually, where you're right, when you hold the fabric back, because if you're looking at it on a wall, you would then still be able to see the fabric pattern through the cross stitch.
Yeah.
I just imagine it on like a plain background and loads of different neon threads. Is that just me and my obsession with neon?
No, that's like somebody did that and it's really cute. But that's just not the situation I'm working with.
I like it in the white though as well.
That was the original plan. But then I thought it was gonna be too colonial.
Yeah.
My style.
Definitely the dark and the white stands out the best. And the dark does sort of complement the fabric where you have the darker tones. It's such a nice fabric. What is it?
It's linen. It's I don't remember the name at all. I think it's 32 count Belfast linen from 123stitch.com. I'm not totally sure that it's Belfast linen, but it is from 123stitch.com and it is 32 count. So
nice.
Yeah, it's really pretty. And I mean, it was like $50, which is not like $1 million, but that's more than I've ever spent on like this much fabric.
Yeah,
that is not very much fabric. But I mean, I think it's hand dyed. Like, I just don't want to fuck it up, you know? Sorry.
Yeah, now you've mentioned the $50, I feel like the one tone is probably the way to go.
Yeah, probably, right? Like this, I spent $8 on both of these pieces.
Yeah.
And so like, that's why I felt comfortable like taking the risk of like dyeing this, you know? And these look great. I mean, but they're monochromatic. So, and I just feel like on a white background, I could do a lot of fun stuff with color. Like I picked out a color palette that I really love, but they just look really weird on this fabric. Like much different than I expected. So I just if it were white, it would have been fine.
For the next one, whatever you make next.
Whatever. But again, so like this concept, I was watching Jacqueline's podcast yesterday, and she was talking about me. She was like, I'm doing this thing, and I enlisted Emily's help, and she made me promise to do one muslin, and I was like, ooh. She was like, oh, she knows me too well. And then she went into talking about muslins, and she was like, this is a sewing project, and Jacqueline is Jacqueline Salem. I think I think her YouTube channel is still Brooklyn Knit Folk podcast. But so she mentioned that, and then she started going into muslins, and she was like, if you do muslins, like that's amazing. That's, I think, what you're supposed to do. But I just am such a perfectionist in my everything in my life. This is still Jacqueline's voice. That if I did that in my downtime, I would never get anything done. And so now switching back to Emily, I like that resonated with me so much because like she and I have talked a lot about perfectionism and she is such not a perfectionist with her crafting, which I've always been like, how do you do that? Like, because I am, and I always have been. And I think something about what she said yesterday really clicked for me because, I felt like I always just saw her as not a perfectionist and me as a perfectionist, but like her even saying that she is a perfectionist in other areas, but this is a conscious choice for her to not be in her downtime, like made it click for me. It's not like, oh, she's this way and I'm this way. It made me realize like I am a perfectionist in my crafting and my art because my parents are artists. So that's like that's what their careers were. So it's like if you look at it as a professional thing, like you take a much different approach and you are a lot harder on yourself. So it's like that's how I learned to do art to begin with. So that's like why I plan so carefully and like think about things so much, even if it's just something for my own enjoyment. But that's also why like I never did anything. Like I always knew so much about art and crafts and color and sewing even, but like never did any sewing. And because I was like too nervous to get it wrong. And also sewing specifically, I did it for my career. So like that's why I'm like, oh, you have to make a muslin, you have to like get everything right. I also am really interested in how shapes fit the body and like fitting things. So that's why I like pattern making and stuff, but it's hard and it takes me a long, long time to do one garment because I fit it like really exactly to the body. Side note, I think that I fit without thinking much about movement, and lately I've been making things that are too tight. But I don't know. So it just like made me think about this in a different way because while I think a multicolor version would be super beautiful, I don't think that it's something that I have been doing to relax. And like sewing for me is not relaxing. And knitting used to be, but it also like now is my work and I do knit samples for work. So it's not always like super relaxing all the time. And then I had this YouTube channel where I felt like it was building towards some kind of professional thing. So like I had to, I sort of was looking at it from a work point of view as well. And I think that since it always started out as not ever a professional thing. And like, I want to now make the conscious choice to not to just have fun and just play and like make things easy.
Yeah.
And like, while that could mean I just keep going on the multicolor thing, and if I fail, I fail, like that's fine. But I did spend money on this. Like,
yeah, I mean, for $50, I'm still thinking about that. Like, you want to make sure that looks good at the end, or it's going to be so frustrating. And you might just end up ripping it all out. So you might as well spend your time doing something you're really happy and really confident.
Yeah. But then again, I'm not going to like spend 70 hours planning it and like kill myself over it. Like I have so much other things and many other things to do with that energy, Anyway.
Yeah. I'm much more of a slapdash crafter. Does swatching ever really happen sometimes? Just kind of get stuck in and hope for the best as I go along.
I love that about you. I like am trying consciously to be more that way all the time. So
yeah, it doesn't always work out, but
totally.
At least I learn something every time.
Yeah, you learn things and you get more done. I mean, it's like in the end, you have more things that you love than a person who is too afraid to make mistakes,
Yeah.
That's like, I think one of the themes of this channel for me was like, it's been like the journey to overcome that, like in my creative life, because it's not worth it.
Yeah, and I think we can be so hard on ourselves as crafters as well about each little, like I've made a mistake in like literally one stitch in a cable, and I was like, oh, should I go back and take out the whole row when I noticed it. And I thought, you know what, who's going to see it? It's like literally under my arm. I'm the only one who's going to know it's there. No one else is going to be able to see it. And I think we're always, because we can see everything, I think we're always going to imagine that everyone else is going to zoom in on things that we don't think are quite perfect. And actually, other people just see the overall picture. They're not going to be going, oh, that stitch there is a bit, loose or whatever, or you've made this mistake, or you should have done this. Like, they're just going to appreciate the final item as you've made it. And I think that's also part of, as you say, the beauty of each piece is something that you've learned from. You might be like, next time I'm not going to do that, but for this one I don't really mind, I'll overlook it. And sometimes for me that's been a big thing as well, of, you know what, it doesn't matter, like no one else is going to notice. Especially when I'm gifting things, I got into this habit of making sure they were 100% perfect, and as if the person I was giving it to was going to notice if I'd done something slightly wrong. Then they're probably not going to know, unless they're a really big knitter and they are like examining it really closely.
Well, and
no one does.
Like, somebody who is a really big knitter, like if you gave me something that had mistakes in it, I would be like, Sophie, like you knit this for me. Like a knitter knows how much work that is. Like, I love the mistakes and everything, because it's just like I know how much love and work went into that. So
yeah. And I think we're all just sometimes a bit hard on ourselves as crafters. We're always trying to be as good as possible. And as you say, sometimes it's nice just to do it because we like it and it's fun, and we don't want to make it into a chore. Otherwise, what's the point of having a fun hobby?
Yeah, it's a hobby. You're supposed to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it might be time to wrap this up.
Save some exciting stuff for next time.
Exactly. Anything else?
Oh, Lucas has apparently heard it's finish time. He's just come bounding in.
We should do Lucas, do you want a cookie, and get him to do a trick?
Yeah. Lucas, do you want a treat?
Oh,
expecting one now. Hey. I don't know where he's been. I don't like he's in the back garden, but I didn't think Jake was downstairs. Maybe he's learned how to open doors on his own.
Does he have a door? He can't go into the garden by himself?
Not without us. I mean, it is fully enclosed and everything, but it's just best to keep an eye on him because he's discovered the joys of digging. Eating twigs, even if they're still attached to plants.
Yeah.
And also so he went out there the other day, and because the garden's kind of in the process of being done, there's a lot of dirt, like soil, just bare soil. And Jake had been hosing something down the other day, and then Lucas had decided to go in the water, go through the flower beds, run into the living room. And I hear like, what's this little trail of dirty paw prints?
I mean, that sounds like so much.
It felt like one of those, those like steam mop adverts where there's all these. That was literally the reality.
Yeah.
So it's best to keep a close eye on him, see what he's getting up to.
Well, I can't wait to hear more about how you're settling in. I'm really looking forward to doing this every week.
Me too. And it's so nice to see your face and
likewise
someone else who isn't my husband as much as I love him. And get to talk about crafting, our favourite thing. I'm gonna be a bit more productive in my crafting this week, I think.
Do you want to have what was you were telling me a while ago about a sign-off thing, like a saying that you wanted to say? You were like,
yes,
have you watched
I thought of one.
You
Stay
were
slow.
Have you watched this, because I really want to say blank, and I hadn't, and I don't remember why I didn't text you back. I think I was in a busy moment. I
don't know. It would have been like a Sophie thing that I like to come up with little phrases and stuff on the, I make up little songs. It's really random. Make up songs and poems and things. They're absolutely awful.
That's amazing.
But it must have just been something, and now I can't remember what it was.
Well,
stay slow.
We both want to say stay sexy and don't get murdered.
Yeah, I know. We can't steal their tagline.
I know.
I'm just going back through to see if I can see what I said.
Well,
Yeah. Oh, this is fun. I'm gonna think about it for next
yeah, we
week.
can do it next. We can find that.
I also need to tell you next week about the tiki tours you can do on Lake George that we saw from upstate.
Yeah.
And I thought of,
Yeah. Tim,
but I'll save that.
has been really into making tiki drinks. Well, we should definitely chat a little bit after we stop recording, but I just want to say goodbye to the people who have watched, and thank you so much for spending your time with us. If you want to more of us, you can press the subscribe button down below. Show notes will also be down below with links to all the patterns that we talked about and everything. If you want to get notifications for when we put out a new video, you have to press the subscribe button again to get notifications. Or the bell or something. I haven't done this in a while, clearly. But
there's some sort of button somewhere.
Yeah, press all the buttons, guys. Just press all the buttons, and then you'll know about everything all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, we love you. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.